Just keep learning,
Yep.
keep talking to people. One thing that I have, you know, realized over the last 20 years, it's not only what you know, it's who you know. So, and you learn a lot from people. So try to meet people who are not from your industry, who are not like you, who come from different places, and just, have a diverse set of friends that will help you in life.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset, everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer. Be sure to head over to clicksandbricksacademy.com so you can access all the resources to start improving your sales today.
BigByte Insights, giving you the data that you need to make sure that you're buying the right properties whenever you're shopping for a new home or any kind of real estate. Actually, not even new home. They focus on real estate investment groups. So if you're in a real estate investment group and you need insights about the properties that you're buying, Shahzeb has the application for you. How you doing, Shahzeb?
I'm good. Thank you for having me again.
I think I butchered up a little bit about what you do. I went to real estate, I went to residential on accident, but you really focus on the REITs, right? Which is a real estate investment group, for those that don't know. And those are the guys that, if you're going to rent something, strip mall, they own and operate a lot of those. They also, for me, it's data center purchases. Whenever we're buying data center space, we go through a REIT a lot of times. So really high-end, expensive real estate investment groups will get together so that they can purchase that as a group. And Shahzeb at BigByte Insight helps those guys make decisions. Is that a fair assumption or fair representation of what you guys do over there, Shahzeb?
That is very close to it.
Very close.
So what we do is we help stock investors who are investing in real estate investment trusts figure out what the revenue growth is for the underlying properties. So for instance, multifamily homes, single family homes, self-storage properties, what the pricing trends are. So that's the information we help people figure out.
Right. And today I think I've read that the new trend for REITs is buying a whole bunch of residential homes, right? And then renting them back to the previous homeowner or new homeowners.
Single family rental business. Yes, absolutely.
Right.
American Homes for Rent started that, 5-6 years ago. Right. Now there's Invitation Homes as well that's doing it as a publicly traded company. And there are more private REITs and, we'll have more IPOs in the future, and that space is growing.
Fantastic. Yes. So can you tell the audience a little bit about, you were in the corporate world and you decided to exit that and start BigByte Insights. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what that journey was like for you?
Sure, absolutely. So when I went to college, I'm going to go a little bit back and give you a little bit about my background, because that'll help you understand how I actually ended up starting this business. I went to college around the time of Y2K, the tech boom, and I was studying computer science. But in between, I took a class in economics and I fell in love and I completely changed what I was doing. Came out of college in '02, but kept coding, even for my job in an Excel spreadsheet, VB macros, all that. Went to business school in '07 at Kellogg. Came out in '09 at the height of the financial crisis, but I loved numbers. So I said, I want to work in finance. So I was in New York looking for a job. After about 6 months, I landed a job in equity research. I did that for about 5 years. In one of my roles as an equity research analyst, my boss would ask me to, punch in some numbers in an Excel spreadsheet. These numbers I would get some from some website. And based on whatever we found, we wrote a report and a lot of people would speak to us. When I got promoted to a senior analyst myself, I had this idea that if I could somehow automate all this data collection process, I would not be basing my opinion on a small sample, but it will be the entire population. So what I did was I figured out how to code a web collection tool that went on the internet and downloaded all the information in a database. And so even when I had a job, I had this computer station at home, and I'm going to share the picture right now. It was 4 CPUs with 2 monitors, a KVM switch, and they were in my living room. Our apartment was in Long Island City. and my wife wasn't happy because the apartment did look ugly. I promised her a lot of bags, which I have to buy her still.
Right.
But let me get this picture.
But you never had a heating bill, did you? Only a cooling bill.
No heating or cooling bills, nothing like that. Actually, so if you could actually enable me to share the screen, I'll show you what that looked like, because I look at that picture and just reminds me of where I started. I think it'll be interesting if I cannot actually share the screen right now, but
actually, if you send us the picture, Chris will throw it up on the screen for us so that we can show it in the video whenever it goes live.
Yeah, this is the picture. Yeah, so these were the computers. This was my system at home where I started collecting the data while I had a job. And I was just web scraping any site on the internet that had a price on it. And I kept doing it for about 3 years while I was working at different places. So I left the bank. I was doing equity research over there. I joined a hedge fund. I was at the hedge fund for 2 years. After 2 years, with all the data I had, I was like, I need to go and do something with the data. So I left my job. I started a company, which is BigByte Insights. That was December of 2016. What we do is we take data from the internet, we analyze it. There's a lot of machine learning. There's a lot of outlier detection. There's a lot of stats involved. And then we predict what a publicly traded REIT will say when they report earnings after 3 months. Our clients know beforehand whatever the company is going to say with respect to revenue growth. Started it 5 years ago, and been doing it ever since.
Right. Just so the audience kind of understands what you were doing. So you're bootstrapping this business, not really knowing where you're going to go, but you see, hey, there's this data that's out on the internet that I can start gathering and creating a database, right?
Absolutely.
So this is really, really important, especially as we continue to move on in the future, and being able to manipulate data and store large amounts of data and being able to view them in different ways makes the data very interesting in ways that we've not been able to see it before. So just to give you an idea, if you're thinking about starting a business and you don't know what to start, my advice would be, if you're a technical person, start collecting data. Find a way to gather data and store it into a database. It's wildly important to do. To give you an idea, we exited a company last year and we had the largest database in the world of G.I. Joe components. And we sold it for a decent amount of money, right? And G.I. Joes are literally
components.
Yeah, so G.I. Joe, like the little action figures, they come in different sizes and they all have different little kinds of weapons. And the value of a G.I. Joe that has all its original weapons with it versus one that doesn't is wildly different. And we had the world's largest database of G.I. Joe components. We had a big community of it. It was a project that we invested in with a couple of people, and they went and built it. And we just exited last year, I think. And it was quite a decent sized sale. So when you're thinking about businesses in the future, having large amounts of data for a specific topic can be an entire business, right? And not just a small business. It can be a wildly big business. We're talking, if we want to talk about a collectible music, for you, it's the real estate investment trusts that are doing all this stuff. So there's tons of opportunities in the world that you can go out and do these businesses. So find something you're passionate about. If you don't know what to do, at least start collecting the data, because you might see something really interesting when you're going through all of that data. And wow, you'll have that moment of, oh, I can sell this. Like if I take these two variables together, on top of that, once you have a whole bunch of data, you can start doing predictive analysis, right? You can start to predict what the market's going to do. And that's what you've done with the real estate investment trust.
Yep, absolutely.
Fantastic. Now, you do have an offer for our guests, right?
I do.
And I'm super excited about this. Now, this goes a little bit it's still in your wheelhouse though, right? But can you tell us a little bit? So you're going to give away 3 NFTs, and these are access NFTs. So they give you access to a very specific set of information. Can you elaborate on the NFTs and what they'll be getting?
Sure, absolutely. So we are launching an NFT collection, which basically gives you access to 2 data platforms. The first data platform will be hosted at intellistocks.ai. And what we're doing over there is we are taking information from the subreddit Wall Street Bets. We are tickerizing it, which is basically saying which stock people are talking about with what frequency, and then we're using a subfield of machine learning called NLP, and we are doing sentiment analysis. So we're not only telling you what stock people are talking about, but we're also telling you what is the sentiment of their conversation. And you can plot this over time, see where sentiment is increasing, decreasing. So if you're investing in the stock market, this is a great tool. Risk management perspective, any way you want to use it, there will be alerts. You can set up alerts, you can upload your portfolio over there, you can go to sleep. If anytime there's outside mention activity in any of the stocks in your portfolio, you can get an SMS or you can get an email. So the NFT will give you access to that platform and another platform which will be at coinalgo.com. Coinalgo.com is for the cryptocurrency space and the NFT space. Over there, what we're doing is the same sentiment analysis on the subreddit data for cryptocurrencies, but it's not from the subreddit Wall Street Bets. There are different cryptocurrencies that we are collecting information on for coinalgo.com. And for the NFT, that market is very nascent, so we are doing a lot of stuff to reduce the information asymmetry and make the market more sustainable from a long-term perspective. And the NFT will give you access to that website as well.
Fantastic. So to summarize that, if you're on the subreddit for the REITs, that data is kind of not human readable all the time, right? Or you got to scroll.
That's not just the REITs. That's all the stocks.
Oh, all the stocks.
So on Wall Street Bets, they talk about all the stocks.
Right. So you take all of those stock talk, you summarize it into good talk, bad talk, or positive, negative.
Absolutely.
Right, based on how the sentiment of the conversation is, and you put it in a more computer readable format so that you can give some projections based
Absolutely.
on how
I'll give
people
you
are
one
talking
use case actually. So for instance, I think it was perhaps in April or May that Tesla's autopilot had an accident. 2 people passed away. The next day, the stock was down. Now, the way you would use the system is you would go in the system and you would see that, yes, stock is down. And on the same day, when the stock went down, people are talking about is that the mentions have gone up. What you're going to look at is the sentiment of what people are saying. Is that more negative or less negative than before, or the same as before? If it's the same as before, then that means that the market expects autopilot to have crashes and people will pass away as a result of that. And this accident doesn't change the propensity of those people to buy a Tesla. And in that case, if the stock has gone down, it's an overreaction and you should buy the stock.
Right.
So just even when there is
I think a very recent one was Palatine and the Sex and the City episode where Mr. Big died on a Palatine bike.
My wife has been so depressed.
But it takes Palatine stock, right? It put Palatine stock on sale.
Yes,
Absolutely
and they
did,
made
right?
that ad when he comes out and says he's still alive.
Yeah, so right then would have been a great time to start buying Palatine stock. But if you were to look at just pure numbers as it's tanking the stock, you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to buy that. But humans are great at buying high and selling low, right? The fear kicks in and they sell low. I've been a victim of it multiple times in my life myself, so I definitely understand that. Now, we're in a brand new world of technology, right? New stuff is coming at us every single day at breakneck speeds. There's no way that a single person can keep up with all of this, and a 4-year education at a traditional school just simply can't touch it, right? So how do you find time and resources to educate yourself? Do you have a tip or a trick that you use to help continued education when all of this stuff is so new?
So yes, absolutely. You have to spend a lot of time reading and listening to people. When it comes to reading, I read a lot of Medium articles. There are a lot of good articles over there written by people who are, technically sound. Even if something is not written by someone that's technically sound, it doesn't get the claps and it doesn't trend, so you don't see it. So I read a lot of content on Medium. And then Twitter Spaces. Twitter Spaces are absolutely awesome because you talk to people who are in the community who know more than you. So, I just joined Twitter Spaces. You hang out, talk to people, and you find out what's going on. So, yes, I mean, one person, you can't pretty much know everything. But if you're in Twitter Spaces, there would be a person who's a developer. There would be a cybersecurity expert. There would be a marketer, and they bring a different perspective, and you learn from that. So,
yeah. So apps like Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces, Facebook's got something now as well, where you have a group of people talking, and they all listen into it. For me, it's great to have that kind of stuff on the weekends when I'm in the garage, kind of doing stuff, cleaning up. I can kind of just listen and absorb that stuff. I'm a fan of YouTube. I lean in on YouTube hard. I've got, the Crypto Banter guys and BitBoy Crypto and all those guys. If I'm not talking on a camera and I'm sitting at my desk working, I have Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, or a YouTube channel up and just playing and learning this stuff as I'm doing my, my boring checkbook work. And
I should have mentioned that YouTube is up there as well.
Programming, websites and things like that. If I'm doing those kind of work, I always have something up and running in the background. Discord is another great place to get this information, although kind of hard to absorb, right? It moves really, really fast. It's almost like watching log files fly by. But so fantastic.
So yeah, actually, I wanted to touch on that very quickly.
Okay.
Discord and the NFT space, there's a lot of information asymmetry. Because a lot of these collections, they will release their news in their Discord or on their, you see the price going up on any of these tools out there that, the price for a certain collection is going up. And then you trying to figure out why it's going up. You go in Discord and you try to read it. And like you said, the general chat channel just keeps moving up. So you only read the most recent stuff. You can go to the announcements channel and see what the collection's founders are saying. You can go read Twitter. Sometimes there's no information in any of these places. A lot of time the alpha is released in the Discord AMA, which is a voice chat, or the Twitter Spaces, where they will announce something very material, and if you're not tuned in, you will not know and you will miss the move. What this also does is it increases the probability that a pump and dump will work. So there are these alpha groups, and there's some of them where you have to buy an NFT for like, $5,000-$6,000, and then you get access to this group. And the people who have access to these groups, they're very, very wealthy investors, and they all get together and they decide they're gonna, pump up a NFT, and they start that pump. More people come in, and then, when more people start coming in because they see the price going up, these people offload. So, in my opinion, so far, the NFT space has involved a lot of transfer of wealth from the more amateur investors to these more sophisticated investors, and there are no rules that govern the NFT space like there are for the stock market. So material non-public information, simultaneous dissemination of information to all the investors, none of the stuff is there in the NFT space, and that makes it more risky. So another thing that we are doing is, as part of our mission to reduce the information asymmetry in the place, we're working on something which will probably be live by the time this episode comes out.
Right.
We are going to collect the chatter from all the general channels and the announcement channels in the Discords of all the main collections, and we're going to bring it in one central place on coinalgo.com. So if you go over there, you can see what different collections are saying in one place. We'll also be doing the same sentiment analysis on their text to see what is the sentiment of what people are saying and how that's changing over time.
Right.
And the last thing that we have actually, one more thing that we've actually already done to reduce the information asymmetry is that we've made an index for the NFT space. Because right now what people do is they will have an Excel spreadsheet where they will show the price change from yesterday versus today. If it's positive, they'll color code that row green. If it's negative, it's red. And then they take a picture of that screen and they throw it on Twitter and say, there's a lot of red on the screen, it was a bad day. And the market is moving up and down.
Right.
I mean, there's no index. Like, without the index, you don't know how you're doing. Like the S&P 500, like, the NASDAQ, like Dow Jones. There's so many indices. Without the index, you don't know what's going on.
Right. So you're working on an NFT index?
It's already there.
Okay.
It's at coinalgo.com. You can go check it out. Right now, we only have the index for the entire market. We have selected 250 collections and the criteria was A, market cap, and B, liquidity. Because there's some collections which are, very, very high floor, very high market cap, but they don't trade a lot. They trade like once in maybe, uh, 30
Right.
days.
Yep.
So you can't put that in the index. So liquidity and high market cap, those are the two criteria. But within those collections, we're further subcategorizing them, and we're going through the exercise of labeling those 250 collections as to whether they are it's art, it's domain names, games, play to earn, metaverse, music, proof of attendance tokens, real world assets, whatever that NFT represents. We'll make a subcategory index, and that would help you see which subcategories are hot and which are not. And I think what we will see is portfolio picture projects, they were working till like maybe September and maybe max October.
Right.
And then they started going down. And then there was this game that came out, the Wolf game, and that set a trend. And there's so many replicas that came out within a few days. Like there was the dragon game, and then there was this bear and salmon game, and then in November you had the games that started going up. But now the market has changed, and people don't want just a profile picture. If you want to sell out a collection, it has to have a utility. I think the NFT market right now is like the internet in 1999. Back then, four guys in a room would go to a VC with a business plan. They would raise a lot of money. 6 months down the road, still zero value, they would have an IPO, right? And
Right.
when the bubble burst, all these companies, they went bust. But out of that wreckage, you had the Amazons and the Googles of the world, people who are doing real stuff back then, and they made businesses back then. So I'm sure there are people right now who are doing real work in the NFT space, and 5 years from now, they would have something meaningful because they have utility behind their NFT, and it's not just a profile picture. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So I think right away, proof of ownership is great for NFTs, right? And like you can do all kinds of things. I think the artwork inside the NFT world, I don't think is going to go away anytime soon. I believe that I think they're going to be more real world objects though. I think that NFTs are how we're going to do transactions inside virtual worlds, right? I think somebody's going to create an NFT and
yes.
implement it into the virtual world. And that's how they're going to say, oh, I love that picture. I would love a copy of it. They can give them a copy, or you can say, oh, I can sell you this original piece and you can have it in your virtual space. I can't have it in my virtual space anymore if I sell it to you,
Right.
because it's a one of a kind NFT. But you can do 10,000 of, you could literally mint a drinking cup for a virtual world and turn that into an NFT and sell 10,000 of them at a penny a piece or something, right? The
Right.
possibilities for what NFTs are going to be like in a virtual reality or an augmented reality world are tremendous, right?
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they'll go away. I don't think the Bored Ape Yacht Club is going to go away at all. Like
Right.
they have their place in history. Like, Steph Curry is there, Jimmy Fallon is there, Adidas bought one, like everyone is there. So those people will stay there. But that category as a percentage of the entire NFT market will shrink.
Yeah, because 90%
because
of them
right
are
now-
junk, right? They're just
Yeah,
people.
90% of their junk. It's
Yeah,
cash
there's people
grabs.
kicking out junk NFTs. It's the same picture with 50 different filters on it, and they kick it out, right? Whereas even CryptoPunk there's some knowledge in each one of them was slightly different, right? It's still,
Yep.
I'm not very
And
big
they're
fan of the
they have
deployment,
the
but
vintage.
yeah,
They have the vintage factor that they're one of the first few ones in 17.
Absolutely.
So we actually very interestingly named our NFT Ugly Monkey, and we're making a statement.
Okay.
That it's not about the picture. We are not selling the picture. We made the monkey to look ugly. Okay. It's
Right.
the utility behind that monkey that matters. That you will be able to use coinalgo.com and intellistocks.ai, because we're building actual like data platforms behind it. And the monkey is just like a token, which it's like a key to a door. If you
Right.
have it, you can open the door and use the website.
I mean, NFTs, I also think authentication, right? Logging into websites sucks. And with the implementation of NFT authentication with your MetaMask wallet is wild, right? It's really, really cool stuff.
Absolutely.
I think we're gonna have a single password world, right? Or a on-demand authentication. So, but don't want to go too deep into the woods there, right? Because that's probably a whole different, not just a different episode, but a whole different channel that we could go into on that stuff. So I'm really proud of us because I think two guys like us could get into the weeds and go too technical on the audience really fast, and we've been able to keep it, I think, pretty much layman's terms. But I'm going to kind of pull the gate down here and ask you the question: what technology do you currently see coming out in the future that gets you the most excited?
The metaverse. It's going to change the world. It's going to change how we live. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, the young kids right now, they are so comfortable with it. They're so used to paying for things in the virtual world. For instance, I was hearing someone and they had their nephew. When COVID hit, they were like, I can't just survive on Netflix, so I have to get an Xbox. They got an Xbox, they didn't know what to play. They spoke to their nephews and they got some recommendations. And the nephews recommended some game, I don't know whether it was Minecraft or Roblox, I don't know which game it was. So this guy decides to play it. Then a week down the road, he exchanges notes with the nephews, and the nephew's like, did you get any skins? The guy's like, what does the skin do? Does it give me any special powers? They're like, no. Like, then why would I pay for it? Like, it looks good. So this guy was like, there's no way I'm buying a skin. And then he says, a month down the road, I was buying every skin I could get my hands on. So he had changed, but a lot of these young kids, they're completely fine paying for virtual goods that they can't really use in real life. But if I speak to some of my friends, I speak to my mom or my dad, like for them, like, okay, you buy me something in a digital world, like, how can I use it? So the world is changing really fast, and I just, I'm excited about it because there would be challenges and there would be opportunities. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I just want to
absolutely
see what happens over there.
I'm super excited about the metaverse.
Yeah.
And we're making big investments into the metaverse for sure. Now, when you say metaverse, do you mean all things virtual, or are you talking specifically Facebook's metaverse?
It doesn't have to be Facebook's. There's
Right.
Sandbox there is Decentraland, and actually, so those are the well-established projects. If you were to ask me, like, if I made a bet, Facebook is hiring 10,000 people to build their metaverse in Europe alone. So I don't know how many they'll have in the US, but with that much money, those kinds of resources, I don't think anybody else would do it. They
Right.
bought Oculus Rift like more than 10 years ago. They were thinking about it back then. And they have actually been so smart about it. I remember Google came out with these glasses probably 2010, 2011.
The
And
Google
I
Glass.
remember going in the subway in New York around that time, and there was a guy that walked in wearing the Google glasses. And they were very expensive back then, I remember, but he paid for it. And everyone just started staring at that guy as if there was something wrong with him, as if he was a perv taking the pictures or whatever it was. So the world wasn't ready for it back then.
Right.
When Google brought it, to the world, they were trying to make a big change, and the world wasn't ready. Facebook is so smart. They have partnered with Ray-Ban. So what they've done is they put Facebook within the Ray-Ban. It looks like Ray-Ban. It says Ray-Ban. There are a few buttons here and there. You can look at your pictures, do whatever you want to do. But they're taking baby steps. It's escalation of commitment. First, people will buy the Ray-Ban with the Facebook in it. They will get used to it. Once those people are used to it, for them to take the next step to Oculus Rift is not going to be that difficult. So that company is very, very strategic and very, very smart. So, but at the same time, open source, a lot can be said about it. I'm sure there would be another metaverse that, people will build on an open source basis. Some of the best software is built using an open source community. But then I also see something else in NFTs. I work in software development. I know how hard it is to make something without bugs, error-free and accurate. It takes a lot of work. You have to have a lot of processes. It's, you're always learning, you're always making mistakes, and you're always trying to improve. But there are these people, like 2-3 people team, and they're coming and selling NFTs, and they're promising a metaverse down the road. I just don't know how 2 or 3 people can build a metaverse that will survive versus a Facebook or a Decentraland or a Sandbox.
Absolutely. Now, with the metaverses, there's going to be a whole lot of them. I think you can look at each metaverse as like a different universe or different galaxy, however you want to look at it, right? But I know that if you go into Facebook Horizons today, it's a little clunky and blocky. But just to give everybody a little bit of context of how fast this is growing, right?
So I think a lot of these brands are buying land in the metaverses. So if you go to, I believe, Decentraland or Sandbox, there are these brands that have bought land and their store is on that land. So yeah, like all these brands will be in the metaverse. And you're absolutely right. We'll have multiple, maybe not 100 metaverses, but maybe like 5, 6, I don't know how many. Because you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have Instagram, so you have multiple social media.
Yeah, I see a world of you've got your mega places, but you also have all your mom and pop shops, just like Main Street today. Right? I think it's going to be hundreds of thousands of spaces you can go to.
So would those small shops be metaverses in themselves, or would they acquire some plot in a metaverse and on that land they have their store?
I don't think this is an or situation. I think this is an and. I think both things, all things will happen.
Okay.
I think, and there's going to be winners and losers, right? And I think, unfortunately, just like in most capitalism, winner takes most, right? So if the big five are going to have, the big six or whatever, are going to have most of them. Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, right? That's going to be, those are going to be huge players. They're going to have huge metaverses. But I also think the kid in his basement's going to make something really cool that, 100 or 200 people can go and hang out on a Friday night in these local communities. And what people don't realize is they think to run a really successful business, they need thousands of customers. But if you can build something that just 100 or 200 people really love, that can be a whole business, right? If 200 or 300 fans of a product that you've created can be a pretty decent business, right? Especially, if we get out of the mindset of, I'm going to start a business to become a billionaire, and I'm going to start a business because I love what I'm doing and I make a good living at it that can sustain me and my family for a long time. I think we're going to see more of those worlds come up. As the tools to build these worlds get easier and easier, we're living in a world where we're teaching our kids Roblox, not the most ethical way at all. Roblox is probably, they're definitely probably an evil company when you really get down and look at what they're doing. It's almost slave labor, what they're doing to these kids and how they're manipulating them. I can't believe it's legal. But right, because they're manipulating. They're saying, kids, come here and build these spaces, and you can get rich, right? And they're doing that to 13-year-old boys and girls, right? Which they probably have.
My 5-year-old plays Roblox. I've never played Roblox, and she has downloaded Roblox on my.
Absolutely. But if you can make spaces in Roblox and you can earn money, you could be a maker inside Roblox, right? And you can earn cash. But it's a pay-to-play world. If you think you're going to build something and set it there and not pay to promote it and it become successful, I think that's still going to happen from time to time, but those days are mostly over, right? You just can't build it and they'll come. You got to build it and promote it. So it's got to be amazing, and you got to be a good promoter. But I think you're going to have worlds like that all over the place, just fun little niche worlds. We're going to have a little puppy palace for the people that love the puppies, and we're going to have, My Little Pony places, and we're going to have the nightclubs and, the Triple X studios as well, like all over the board. I think it's going to be a pretty wild place.
Is that 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road, or 10 years down the road?
I think it's 5. I think right now we're living in such a world where so many things have come together at once. We're post-pandemic. People's mindset of staying in the house is at a high level. They know they don't have to commute to get things.
They don't mind. Yeah.
The NFT, so transferable, easy way to transfer different values of products and services inside the metaverse. And the fact that Facebook just changed their name. And they got the Oculus Rift down to $300. Now it's affordable to have.
It's cheaper than the iPhone.
An Oculus Rift right now to get into Horizons is only $300. So they've made the technology cheap enough that it can be in every home. And all these tools are set. I have to buy one today. Yeah,
I didn't realize it was that cheap now.
Yeah, it's crazy. And now you still have to have like an Alienware's PC if you're going to do, what is the thing that we're doing, Chris, that makes it look cooler? The Steam Worlds. Okay, so if you want to do Steam Worlds, you have to have a PC, like a $3,000 PC still. But to get inside Horizons and work and build stuff, the barrier to entry is $300, right? So at least every household in America can have one.
thinking if I get one, my daughter will be all over it.
We had to buy 4.
Maybe I should not. Oh God.
We had to buy 4 of them. But yeah, it's
Wow.
really, really cool. And, you can see people and interact with them inside these worlds. Anything that you have for the audience before we go, Shahzeb?
Just keep learning, keep talking to people. One thing that I have, realized over the last 20 years, it's not only what you know, it's who you know. So, and you learn a lot from people. So try to meet people who are not from your industry, who are not like you, who come from different places, and just, have a diverse set of friends that will help you in life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy, and you took time out to talk to us and our audience, tips and tricks on what you guys are working on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here, Ken. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I did too.
I hope I'll stay in touch. I want to keep chatting with you.
Absolutely.
I love that chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.
That's it for today's show, folks. Again, my name is Ken. If you would like to join my text line community, 314-370-2871. You can send me any question about technology or business, and I'll do my best to give you an unbiased answer, absolutely no charge. That's it for today. Get to work.